So one trend that seems to be happening is that when the 5G version of a phone comes out, some of the innards change. In this case, the Reno 4 Pro 5G has a Snapdragon 765G, whereas the Reno 4 Pro without the 5G bit has the 720G Snapdragon. So obviously Snapdragon 720G versus 765G, much of a performance difference? Well, let's find out. So we have the Reno 4 Pro 5G on the left-hand side, and that's the one with the Snapdragon 765G, the better in terms of specs on paper. And on the right-hand side, we have the Reno 4 Pro without the 5G, and that one's got the Snapdragon 720G. So on paper, it should be slower. So let's see what happens when we actually put it through the paces here. And already I can see that the Reno 4 Pro 5G has got a lead. It's now actually into the compression test, while the 4 Pro was now into the compression test as well, but certainly it was not doing as well. So it looks like the difference between the Snapdragon 720G and the 765G is going to be actually as we would expect, as the 4 Pro 5G is now into the 16th trade test, but now is the 4 Pro as well. Now the Snapdragon 720G also has 2 Cortex-A76 cores and then 6 Cortex-A55 cores, just like the Snapdragon 765G. However, there is some difference in the clock frequencies. For example, 765G has 1 prime core clocked at 2.4 gigahertz, whereas the 720G has its maximum speed at 2.3 gigahertz. And I also imagine there are some other differences in terms of things like caching and so on. However, I think the real difference we're going to see when we look at the GPU part of the test, because it's the Adreno 618 versus the Adreno 620, and I think Qualcomm do make quite a bit of a difference. And I look at 19 frames a second on the left-hand side for smoke particle test. What we're going to see, 18 frames a second. So 2D graphics, not too much of a difference between these two as we were there, and we're now into the Unity test. The 5G version was first into Unity test, so it's going through that first, and only now is the 4 Pro, the non-5G version, working. However, I'm not expecting that any surprises here. I think the Adreno 620 in the 765G is a better GPU by quite a margin, in fact. And as it's now already going into the Unreal test, and the non-5G version hasn't even got down to the water, it's just getting there now. So I think the Reno 4 Pro 5G is definitely going to end the test first, as the non-5G version is now going out of the Unity test into the Unreal test. I'm sure the 5G version is going to get to the end of that path any second now. Where are we at? 2 minutes 20. Let's see what we get in the 2 minutes 22.2 for the 5G version, as we had expected. And the Reno 4 Pro with the Snapdragon 720G is now also coming to the end of that path. The clock's gone past 2 minutes 30. Let's see what the final time is going to be when it gets to the very end here. It's coming up now. There we go. 2 minutes 40.3. Okay, let's break down the scores and see exactly what happened. So no surprise there, as the Reno 4 Pro 5G with the better processor won 2 minutes 22.2 compared to 2 minutes 40.3. That's a difference of 18.1 seconds. So what happened? CPU 59.0 versus 102.3. So a slight difference there. Win for the 5G version, 3.3 seconds difference. And that was kind of the story. Also, we got into the mixed CPU, GPU 30.6 versus 31.7, a 1.1 second difference there. Again, a win for the 5G version. But we can see the real win here was in the GPU, 52.5 versus 1 minute 6.2. So that is a difference of 13.7 seconds. So quite a big difference in the GPU power. And that meant that when you add up all the scores, the 5G version with the Snapdragon 765G won 2 minutes 22.2. My name is Gary Sims, this is SpeedTest G. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, please do check out the FAQ link in the description. And if you like these kind of videos, well, why not stick around by subscribing to the channel? Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.